passing lane. Sky's a jam. Dynamite dunk, and the crowd loves
it. Welcome back to Pistons Intellect. I'm your host, Jack Kelly. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack_Kelly_313. But before we get into today's show, if you're feeling so kind, please hit that subscribe button. We're all going through it right now. I'm enjoying doing these recap videos, but your support would mean the world right now, especially while this team's super. I'm running out of words, but any support would be great. But today we're going to recap the Pistons' 136-113 loss to the Indiana Pacers. And for much of tonight, felt like we're going to have a fun recap, at least a close finish, at least be able to open the show with some positivity, but probably I would put the worst 6 minutes of basketball I've seen a Pistons team play in a long time. Has the Pistons lose by 23 in the end. This game was a close one throughout the entire night. I'm going to get into some positives after this, but one of the things we'll have a chat about is sort of Cade and Ivy's brilliance, particularly their first half together. They looked awesome. Jalen Duren returned and looked good for the most part, but kind of just doesn't feel right to open the show being positive. Just a complete and utter collapse. I think the Pistons trailed by 1 with 6.5 minutes to play. It was a back and forth contest. The Pacers throughout the night would kind of get up by 6 to 7 points, but the Pistons would always bring it back. Pistons were ahead at multiple points by, 3, 5, even 6 points at once, I think. But yeah, unfortunately, the Pistons, one of their many issues, but arguably their biggest issue of this season has been taking care of the ball. And it felt like from the 6-minute mark till the final buzzer of that fourth quarter, the Pistons just turned it over at every crucial point. And they came from their two best players on the night, Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham. I think I want to start with Cade because his turnovers, he's been the guy. I think he still leads the league in turnovers. It's been his biggest issue all season, at least from an offensive standpoint. And yeah, he had at least 2 turnovers, and then he had a couple where I think he has a good handle, Cade, but it's loose. And I think it can often look like he's being lackadaisical, but I think he's just got a very loose handle in the way he crosses the ball over and just the way he sort of maneuvers with his handle. It just, sometimes opponents are just able to strip him, or when he's driving, obviously teams are trying to double him and the book's out on him. Yes, he gets double teams because the Pistons don't necessarily have the most amazing spacing / offensive weapons around him, but I think teams just know the Pistons aren't good enough anyway. Cade's handle is shaky, so let's just trap, blitz, anything you can imagine, double team him. I swear he even got triple teamed a couple of times tonight, but I don't think that's all just because they don't respect any of the Pistons players offensively. I think it's because Cade, every team knows he's going to handle the ball, and every team knows you just put pressure on him and you're going to get a turnover. He's going to have his 5 turnovers. He actually only had 4 tonight, but yeah. Cade had an excellent game, and I'm going to give him some love in the next sort of segment. But I think the larger conversation here with Cade is, it's one I haven't really wanted to discuss because he's clearly not in the best situation to succeed. But I think he needs to do a much better job, and this is the coaching staff as well, but I think Cade and the coaching staff need to do a much better job of getting the ball out of his hands quicker. There are so many times, even in that first half when he was playing well, where I get he's a mercurial player and he sort of has that Chris Paul and Luka mystique about an offense where they can sort of dribble in circles, maneuver around screens and find gaps and use sort of angles to create scoring opportunities. But I don't know, sometimes, man, he just holds the ball far too long. For my liking, especially when Jaden Ivey's on the court. And I think some of that blame you can put on Cade. I don't think it's entirely on Monty Williams 110%. I think we've seen moments throughout this season where the ball has zipped around and it's looked good and there's possessions tonight. But I think Cade, I don't mind him handling it towards the end of the possession, but I think at the start of the possession, like when he's just sort of dribbling around and taking a tough mid-range pull-up, like I don't really care who you are unless you're like Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, like, and I think Cade's got a really nice mid-range game, but when you have the efficiency he has, I think move the ball, make a quick pass, two pass, relocate. Sometimes I feel like Cade doesn't relocate, and I think this is where Monty Williams needs to get the ball in Jaden Ivey's hands earlier, so Jaden can drive, draw the defense, and then you have Cade open somewhere, or at least semi-open, trying to get him some more open looks, because him just dribbling around, I think, is clearly not like a recipe for success. And I think that's both on him and the coaching staff to get some more urgency, get the ball in Jaden Ivey's hands earlier, and yeah, just get that offense moving. Like I love the pick and roll duo with Cade and Durant, but I think teams have figured that out, especially since those first 3 games. And yes, JD is coming back from injury, so I expect it to get better. But that's just been one of my things with Cade of late is I just feel like the offense gets so stagnant, and I definitely agree with people who say that's Monty Williams thing, but I think if Cade is, I think Cade does have the basketball intellect, pun not intended, to, he should know to get the ball moving quicker. Like sometimes it's just so stagnant, and regardless of what the coach is saying, sometimes I feel like a player of Cade's caliber should just, if he's been told to not pass, which I don't believe, like just get it moving. So, and then Jaden as well had 2 really bad turnovers. Bruce Brown just, I think, clean stripped him both times, took it down the other end, got an assist. Or maybe it's Ben Mathurin and Bruce Brown. Funnily enough, the ex-Piston and the guy many Pistons fans wanted trophy of the draft a year ago. So turnovers just killers, and that's 13 straight losses. And in the title, I have the Pistons on the verge of making history. The Pistons' longest single season losing record is 14 games. So they play the Wizards Monday night, the second worst team in the league. It's a battle of the cellar dwellers. And if they lose that, scarily enough, the 14-game losing streak will be the least of their concerns, because the noise from the fan base is going to be impossible. The media attention, I hope if they drop that game, the national media pull the Pistons through the ringer, because, yeah, this game is on the Pistons' home floor. They've beaten Washington here before. Pistons historically struggle traveling to Washington, but at home, they've beaten them before. And, yeah, that is the definition of must win. So if they drop that game, I have no idea what's going to happen. The organization filtered out some stuff through James Edwards, or James did some reporting, I should say, and he sort of put the notion out there that Troy's not on the hot seat. But I tell you what, if they lose to the Wizards, if we don't hear anything from the organization or someone within the front office or the owner, tell them we don't hear something from those executives after they tie the franchise single season losing record and are just utterly going nowhere. If we don't hear anything, I think every fan has a right to not care about this team. Like, I will still be here watching every game because I love this team. But yeah, if we can't hear from our leaders, our front office leaders, and this losing streak continues, then that just reeks of a lack of leadership for mine. So, but back to the game, I don't know. They were in this game the entire time. The Pacers have the worst defense in the league, so the Pistons are keeping up. The offense looked good at times. There's positives, which I'll get into, but yeah, ultimately another loss, another kind of game where you're just sitting there going, what the fuck just happened? Like, excuse the swearing, but like I literally looked away and the Pistons were down by 10. And then I looked away again, they're down by 20. Like, seriously, I kid you not. That it jumped from 10 to like 20 points within like 90 seconds of game clock. It was, I mean, the Pacers have the best offense, but I didn't see any of those sort of Evan Mobley type defensive possessions where you just where the Pistons let a player like Mobley just stream in for an open dunk in the last minute. But Like my goodness, that was rough. So yeah, I don't have a lot more. Let me know in the comments below how you're feeling. Like I'm going to suggest a lineup change here in a minute towards the end of the episode, but yeah, I just want to know how fans are feeling. Feel free to drop any suggestions down there. But another game they could have won, which they dropped. So I think with that though, tonight, much like the game before, in a vacuum, there were plenty of positives in a vacuum. Probably weren't expected to win this game, the Pistons. If we remove the losing streak, which doesn't seem right, but I'm going to for the sake of the conversation. Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey looked excellent together. Their first 3 quarters, particularly the first half, like they were dominant. That was like that first half. If you're going to spend 40 minutes to 60 minutes going back and watching any of this game, watch the first half. Watch when Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey are on the floor together, because they were terrific. They were playing off each other once again. Cade had like 20 in the first half. He finishes with 31 points, 5 assists. And look, the 4 turnovers I spoke about, but yeah, he was cooking in the mid-range, hit a couple of threes, was really aggressive getting to the line. One thing that's been brought up by a heap of fans was his pump fakes and how he wasn't drawing the contact on those. And trust me, that's frustrating me as well. He was getting the defenders up in the air and not jumping into them. Like there was a stage in the third where he had Isaiah Jackson on the exact same possession, jump twice, and Cade just didn't jump into him to draw the 2 free throws. And then Jackson, being the athletic rangy defender he is, just swatted Cade's shot. So, but then he did later in the game sort of lean in, get that contact. So that's something he really needs to fine tune, because he's just leaving free throws on the table there. Like I don't even understand his thinking there. Obviously easier for me to say sitting here in my office, as opposed to being on the court with 6'9" NBA defenders sticking you. But yeah, look, for the most part, Cade played a brilliant game. You can see like that kind of lead scoring option he can be with the mid-range and just all the tough shots he can make. I think for him, and it's always been, this feels like this has been the main thing with his offense, is getting those easier ones. I don't mind him driving to the rim and getting blocked. Like he got blocked a couple of times by Miles Turner, but that's just because Cade doesn't have the bounce. But you like him going up and taking that attempt, and if he gets blocked, fine. More times than not, he might get the foul. He might. Like Miles Turner's arguably the best shot blocker in the league. I know the base of the worst defense, but he's an excellent rim protector. So, and then Jaden Ivey, I want to spend, like, he deserves his flowers. If you've been following me, or at least listening to me on when I was on the Detroit Bad Boys podcast, or live stream, should I say, I've been huge on Jaden Ivey. People I got to know in the organization, like there were conversations during the off season I had with people who saw Jaden as the best talent on this team. Like he is held in high regard in that organization, whether some of you believe it or not. And I mean, I'm not sure I'm ready to go that far, but I think, and I've said this before, like he could be the leading scorer on this team. I think if he's the leading scorer on this team with Cade, I think that's actually a really good thing, because that shows the Pistons have 2 legit scoring options in Ivy and Cade, 2 guys who can get you 20 to 25 every night. And the beautiful thing about Jaden this season is his efficiency. Like he has been, I mean, he's only played limited minutes for the most part, but I mean, prior to tonight, what's Jaden at here? He was shooting, so this is, prior to tonight, he's shooting 52%, 36% from 3, 80% from the line. That's huge. And the spot up shooting numbers are better. I'm going to put a post together, which will probably be out in the morning with this video, just showing Jaden's overall efficiency, because he's finishing at the rim. He was, prior to this game, I think he's at like 80% at the rim. And that was the one thing he really needed to improve upon offensively coming into this season. Last season, he was like 50% at the rim, which is really low. I think he was in the bottom 12th percentile, like the bottom 10% of the league almost. Whereas this season, he's like in the top 10%. So it's early, but that's an insane turnaround. And you're really seeing him attack drives now, more balanced. He's not as chaotic, and he doesn't force as much. He's not driving every single time, but that's part of improving your efficiency, is making the right decision, when to drive, when to attack. He's doing a lot of damage in a transition, but I think tonight what really impressed me is throw the percentages out the window. If you just look at the finishes he had, like he had some awesome finishes, like just the touch. He got some really friendly rolls, which I think, is a bit of luck, but I think some of those friendly rolls on and one opportunities, reverse layups, like that's also skill, just to have that soft touch. And that was something he was lacking last season, where he'd have a lot of drives where he would burst, but then he just didn't have the touch and he'd have it come off the backboard too hard and it just wouldn't drop. Whereas this season, like, feels like he's just making all those ones and then he's making the tough ones. And so that for me that's huge. Like I said, when I was talking to people in the organization last season, that was like, I stressed the finishing and how he needs to improve there. And just to see him improve there has been amazing. So that is a huge positive. He even, like, just seeing him do those off-ball things again, like he had Jalen Duran found him on a couple of nice cuts and he finished. And like he's finishing around and through Miles Turner. The difference between Cade and Ivy and why Ivy can finish with someone like Turner is because Ivy can just blow by. Cade's a bit more slower and needs to sort of use head fakes and angles, whereas Ivy can just blow by. And now his finishing's improved. He might not dunk as much as you would like. I don't think he has that vertical explosion like a Russell Westbrook, but what he does have, like Russell Westbrook and Derrick Rose, is that first step and just straight line burst. And you saw that tonight. So, yeah, excellent game for Jaden. Forgive me if I already read out his stat line, but he finished with 25, 3 assists, a block, a steal, shot 56% from the field. 3-point shooting was a bit down, and then he shot 6 of 9 from the line. So you'd like to say that a bit higher, but he's getting to the line. And yeah, those 2 turnovers were absolute killers at the end. But I think he deserves his props because he has copped a lot this season. I feel like, and rightfully so, fans, I think, have found Jaden a bit hard to evaluate because he's a bit of a diverse, like the way he plays at times can be a bit frustrating, but I think that was more as a rookie. I think this season, at least, I mean, like I know it's frustrating at the Summer League, but I don't care about Summer League. Like, I think this season you've seen a much more controlled version, and no matter what is going to happen with these losing streaks, I think Jaden Ivey is a positive that we can clutch onto, and just watching his development, because he has improved. Like the player that the Pistons drafted as a rookie to what he is now offensively he's made huge strides, and that's something Pistons fans should be very, I don't know if proud's the right word, but you should be like, that's an encouraging thing for sure. And I guess with Ivy and Cade, I think something I really have noticed the past 2 games, and this will lead me to my, I guess, final topic segment, is I think, and look, I alluded to this last episode, but if you didn't listen to it, I think the starting 5 needs to change. I think a lot of people probably agree with me on that, but I think the person I want to see go to the bench is someone I'm extremely fond of and is, one of my favorite players in the team. It's Isaiah Stewart. I think you saw tonight when the Pistons had, I think they had Cade, Ivy, Asar, Livers, and Duran. They were doing damage. They looked really good. I think they had a really nice third quarter stretch. Just 2 genuine wings who can defend and rebound in Livers and Thompson. Livers shot the ball well tonight. He at least made his first he made his first couple of threes in the first half. And just having those 2 with Duran alongside that backcourt, it made sense. And if you watch the third quarter, and if you want to go back and watch it, or watch the first half, like whenever those 5 were on the court, it just made sense. It just looked right. And look, I'll put my hand up and say I was probably a bit slow to recognize that. I'll also say in defense of myself, it's, Pistons are still losing. It's only been like a game or 2, or it's probably been like 15 minutes of action, but it kind of just looks right. And it's going to need a bigger sample size to justify it. But I think for me, especially when Bojan Bogdanovic is healthy, I think no matter what, I would love to see a starting 5 that features Cade, Ivy, Asar, Durant, and then one of either Livers or Bojan. And whichever one doesn't start, obviously comes off the bench, and you can mix and match them in with those four, or mainly Cade, Ivy, and Durant. You just need it. If you could have it, you could probably even play Boyan and Livers with those three. I mean, to be honest, I think Asar's defense has. I don't think you can really pull him out of the starting five right now. But if you were going to, putting Livers and Boyan in at the 3-4 alongside Cade, Ivy, Durant, that might be something we see in a couple of weeks, because that offensively, that is probably the best the Pistons could put out right now offensively, in terms of just spacing, scoring, shooting. Like, that blend would be pretty perfect on that end for this roster. I'm not saying they're going to win more games, but that makes a ton of sense. But overall, I think, Stu to the bench for me. And that preseason, I wanted Stu starting. I still think maybe you could have Stu and Boyan, but I think the thing with Stu, which has taken me a minute to recognize, and shout out to people like Kuka Hill and some of the other Pistons podcasters, they've probably been quicker to notice it than I, but Stu's just percentages look good, and his defense is excellent alongside Jalen Durant. I'll stand by that. Those two defensively are the Pistons' best 4-5 combo. But offensively, Stu's just too hesitant. And if he's not going to, he's still shooting maybe 40%, but if he's only going to take, I don't know how many he took tonight, but I don't even think he attempted a 3. He might have taken 1. But if he's not going to take 5, 6 a night and knock him down at 38, 40%, teams won't defend him, especially now the Pistons are struggling and they just know to trap Cade or Ivy. So I think you need to put Stu to the backup 5 position, which is where, to be honest, I've always seen him largely landing on this team. And because when I've seen Stu look really good, he's done damage on the interior at the 5. His finish around the basket's gotten so much better. His rebounding really stands out against backup 5s, where he can really use his physicality, and height isn't as big of a factor when he's going against a backup big man. And then I think you can insert him, you can close games with him. He can be that PJ Tucker, sort of not the exact type of player as PJ, but just that glue guy at the 4 who's going to rebound, he's going to hustle, he's going to give you sort of what you need on any given night. He can do that, but he's just going to do it off the bench, and you can close with him. You can bring him in early on the start of first quarters if the Pistons are struggling to rebound, but I just think he's better utilized. I've come to the decision quicker that he's better utilized as that Swiss Army knife off the bench at the 4-5. I think starting with him, just with his hesitancy right now and his lack of handle and creation at the 4, just from the get-go, the Pistons are just a little short-handed offensively, and they need all the offensive help they can get right now, because they're just not going to be a good defensive team this year. I know they're 21st, but I mean, look at them right now. Even with Boyan comes back, the defense isn't getting better. It's probably getting a little bit worse or staying the same. So I think for me, just to round it out, starting 5, you go Cade, Ivy, Asar, Livers for the time being, but Livers or Boyan when Boyan's healthy, and Jalen Durant at the 5 when he's fully healthy and ready to go. I assume he just didn't start tonight because of a minutes restriction maybe, or they're just trying to ease him back into it, but he's the starter. We all know that there's no secret there. So look, guys, let me know if you agree with that starting 5. I've probably been a bit slow to come around on that, mainly because of my belief in Stu, but I think with where the season's at, that's probably what needs to happen in the short term. But yeah, 13 straight losses. If they lose to the Wizards on Monday night, they'll have tied the single season record losing streak. And we're going to have a conversation if that happens. But until then, like I said, drop a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Mainly just let me know how you're feeling. But let me know your thoughts. I want to hear them, but I want to know how everyone's feeling. I think I've kind of just adjusted to, I'm pretty much numb now to the losses. After that Raptors loss, I was pretty emotional, but I'm pretty much numb. I'm at that point where we were last season, but this season we don't have the hope of tanking for Wemby. We got nothing really, because draft picks don't get anyone excited, particularly with his draft, even though there's some good players. But yeah, let me know how you're feeling, guys. Hope everyone's doing well. Appreciate all the love and support. And yeah, if you hit that subscribe button, that would mean the world. But till Monday night, go Pistons.